I had a friar tell me very bluntly and honestly, because I need that. Um,
Multiple times.
yeah, he goes, Tito, you get distracted from the important by what's imminent,
Mm.
or by the urgent,
Yeah.
and I just had to take it because I'm like, he's 100% right. He's just like, I really wanted to defend myself, and like every objection died before it crossed my lips because I was like, he's right. I get very distracted by the urgent or by the imminent, and I often uh, allow the important to get pushed aside. And that conversation is what led to me in the situation that I'm in now of finishing up this undergraduate and doing these studies, preparing me for what's next. Because it was about figuring out what I was going to do after Siena. And he said, take care of the important. He goes, the urgent will always be there. Right now, you have to focus on the important. And I think that's a great principle to remember, is to not get so distracted by the urgent that we, never get to the important.
Well, I just
Yeah,
love that all three of us have shared stories where a person had to show us our faults or just like be very harsh and direct with us. One of the ones that sticks out in my mind for me was in high school. I had a tendency to let the good be the enemy of great, or however that phrase is, where I was on a retreat one time and I was one of the planners of the retreat, and it did not go the way we planned. And I just got completely derailed. Just absolutely a mess. Like, I hate this. I want to go home. And my youth minister pulled me aside and he said, "You're the only one not having a good time." He said, "Do you realize that you're setting up your expectations for failure? Stop it." And I was like, all right, I'm going to take 5 minutes. I'm going to go for a walk and I'm going to come back with a smile on my face. I got this.
There you go.
Yeah, I realize that too, is that I too have that perfectionist streak in me.
Mm.
And so I'm always aware, like I just need to get to 80% and then let's just move on. Because that
It's a
last
tough one.
20% just grinds it down to paralysis
Yeah.
in me.
You end up spending the same amount of time on the 20% as you do the 80%. And not just say, well, good enough, who cares? But, like the last 20% is not necessary for most
Right.
things.
And I think that's also when trying to discern vocation, right? Is that sometimes I know
Mm.
that, like when I was going through it, I wanted to be 100% sure that
Sure.
this is the order I need to join, that this is the vocation, maybe even this is the person I was supposed to marry. And it's like, man, if that's the case, then no one's going to do anything.
Yeah.
No.
No one's going to do anything. I
Hmm.
mean, whether it's a ministry I'm supposed to go into, ministry that I want to start, whatever it is, if you're shooting for 100% certainty, good luck.
I struggle with my high schoolers all the time, as I'm sure you did. They don't know, they have anxiety. It's like, it's going to be okay. Why don't we just take one step? And then you'll find
Mhm.
that you have a better clarity, and you'll take one more step and you have better clarity. And even if you find out you took the wrong step, well, at least you know something. Now turn around. But oh my gosh, just stuck, as you say, in paralysis.
Yeah.
It's a lot like being a pathfinder. I remember.
The Nissan Pathfinder?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Okay. I have no idea what we're talking about. Go ahead.
I remember very early on in my discernment, in general, I started off discerning with the diocese, and I went through a year and a half, almost 2 year process with them. At the end of which, I did not join the diocesan, or I did not apply. I applied to the diocesan priesthood, but I wasn't accepted. Um, Part of that was the complication of my application getting confused with someone else's, which at
Oh
the end
no.
of a year and a half, I'm like, how can you have me confused with someone else? We've been talking for over a year.
Who do
Anyway,
you think you are?
so what that did to me is, as I was moving forward and starting to discern religious life and the Franciscans, I didn't want to move forward unless I had absolute certainty. So I know what you're talking about. I wanted that absolute certainty. I was like, listen, God, I did this once before. I got burned. And so I'm not going anywhere until I know for sure. And at through, a good life of prayer, through having a good mentor and hearing some really good homilies, I was reminded that it's a journey. And sometimes when you're walking down the journey, you're going to take a wrong turn. and you're going to find yourself at a dead end. And all you got to do is backtrack a little bit and keep moving forward. And that's what I mean where I say it's like being a pathfinder. You can't map out the journey that you haven't been on. You have to walk it first, and then you can go back and map it out. You have to figure it out, and you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to make some wrong turns. I mean, I joined the Friars, and then I ended up eventually transferring provinces. And then the province that I joined is now part of a bigger province. And
Tito doesn't understand straight lines.
I don't. But that's okay.
He's getting his undergrad after his master's.
Yes.
I don't know what's going on here.
I'm a loop. But that's been my journey. And as much as I would have loved a straightforward, easy to follow path, everything that I experienced taught me something, led me somewhere, and has ultimately gotten me here. And I'm still gonna, I'm sure, make wrong turns at points, but you have to keep walking.
Yeah, it's I do a lot of travel with the ministry that I'm in as a counselor, and the luster of air travel is quickly lost.
Oh, I know it.
Oh, yeah.
Quickly lost, and so I had to reframe it pretty quickly, and I used the image of pilgrimage. And this is not meant to be overly pious, but I believe in a pilgrimage. If you've ever been in a pilgrimage, what I think all of you have, is that you're going to get lost. Things are not going to go the we're supposed to. There's going to be a lot of obstacles and setbacks. But as cliche as it is, it's not about that destination. It's about seeing Christ as you're moving through life. And I think when anyone's looking at discernment or just life in general, is that to look at it. I mean, from the very early part of the church, we called ourselves a pilgrim church, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the mentality, at least that helps me in air travel. Like I'm actually still in Florida. I was supposed to leave. I was supposed to leave on Wednesday, and but it's covered in snow, and flight was canceled. And then I was like, okay, well, I can leave on Thursday, but then I try to see that means I have to move every piece of the trips up, and it would have cost way too much money.
Sure.
So
Remind me what
here.
regions you are. You're Italy, southern France, the Holy Land. Which are regions?
Right.
Exactly, the Mariana Trench, everything. But that's the thing.
When you talk about pilgrimage, it's usually not to St. Petersburg, Florida. And that makes it a little more difficult. But I think focusing on that, it's the journey, it's what you learn along the way, and what God is doing with it. You might not notice for 5 more years. It's
Absolutely.
been kind of a kick I've been on recently. We're going through some trials and just being frustrated. Like, why do I got to go through this? And I just want to land. I just want to get to where I'm going. And then you realize, it was the journey who made me capable of doing what I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And had I not gone through that journey, had I not, skidded on the runway or, had to get off the plane and do 10,000 things, I wouldn't have been able to do the task I was being asked to do. Do you find that in hindsight where you're like, you know what? It's a cliche, but there is absolute truth to everything happens for a reason. There's something to God working through. Maybe not every little minutia, but you start to see that hand and say, now I'm starting to see.
Yeah, I'd say that he uses everything for good. He can use everything for good.
Yeah.
I may not see it.
Yeah.
But I think that's where faith is inviting me to trust in that. Like Tito, you're at Bonaventure, is like, talk about a big detour on there, but I'm imagining you found a lot of good that's happening there.
Absolutely. The work that I'm doing right now, I just came out of a class. It's called documentary filmmaking, and I can already see how this class in particular is really helping me to prepare for the next step, for the work that we'll be doing in the future, but as well as the work that I want to do and I would like to see being done more of in the province.
Yeah. And like we said, no straight paths there.
Right.
But you probably wouldn't have been ready for that 10 years ago.
Nope.
And that's the hard thing to realize is, dang it, all of this is fitting together in the way it needs to.
Exactly.
And there are obviously tragedies. There are obviously failures. There are obviously roads that we go down. And the lesson we learn is, I didn't want to go down that road. But I do think, as Roger, you say, there can be good that comes from all of it. And we find ourselves often in places, it took a while to get there because we needed it to take a while.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, I think everything can be a formative piece. Everything can be it can be a salvific piece, right? Everything can be. Um, there's grace so much. Um, it's just kind of being able to see it. And I think that's like what I ask the Lord is like, Lord, just help me to be open to that grace because I know
Yeah.
it's there. Just help me to be open to it.